Hi everyone, Kyle here from Bostick Family Light Show, and on today's video I'm going to show you how we mount our props to our roof. So in this case we're going to do a spider, but this is how we also do our bats and our snowflakes in the winter. Here we go. One of the first things we do is we drill a hole into the prop. That way we can use these Matos easy mounts to secure the prop to an EMT clamp, and then we will bend EMT and secure that to the roof. So we'll start to put the EMT clamps onto the prop. I'll show you what that looks like, and then we'll climb up on the roof and get everything ready for that. Typically we take a tiny Phillips screw and a nut and put it through the open side of the Matos Easy Mount. Make it a little easier, you can put the screw on the screwdriver and then you can slide this on top of it. Then go ahead and take your EMT clamp, open it up just a little bit, slide the EMT clamp on top of the screw, and then at this point I also add a little bit of red Loctite. That way it is permanent, it won't spin or anything like that, and I don't have to worry about it coming loose. So you can do just a little dab of that. Go ahead and you can take your nut, you can screw it onto the screw you have going through. Once you get that started, you can go ahead and take a socket and make sure that you get this nice and tight. As you bend the EMT, the bottom of it will start to bend and warp. That will prevent the screw from getting tight, so make sure you just start to pull it tight and make sure that you clamp this down so it stays nice and tight once you're up there. Now that that's done, I slide the carriage bolt back through the EMT, put the nut back on and twist it in a little bit. Go ahead and take your prop, take the threaded end and slide that into the prop. And then you can take that carriage bolt and EMT assembly and screw it in onto the back. Go ahead and make sure that that's nice and tight. For my props, I usually use 2 of these per prop to make sure it doesn't move while it's up on the roof. Go ahead and you can screw the other one in. Now the prop is prepped and ready to go up on the roof. So we take this 16 gauge punched bar, zinc plated, and you can take 10 snips or you can cut it with a circular saw with a metal blade or a grinder, however you want to cut these. And we usually cut these into about a 6 to 8 inch length, and we'll actually use this to secure the prop to the roof. Go ahead and you can go ahead and cut this. And I usually use 2 of these per prop. That way it will allow you to secure the EMT to the prop and it won't sway or move or anything like that. So we have these cut. We'll go ahead, we'll climb up on the roof and we'll get these secured. After these cure and dry on the roof, then we can go back, we can paint them, and then we can also attach the EMT. And then once the EMT is attached, we can attach the prop. To secure the EMT to the top of the roof, I use this Henry's roof adhesive. It's basically just an all-purpose crystal clear sealant for roofing, and this seems to work great. I put up a bunch of props last year as their first year doing this. The metal backstrapping is still up there, still holding strong. I did want to reposition a few of these, so one thing that's nice is if you use this, if you wait for a hot day, you can start to wiggle this out and you can get it back out. So it is semi-permanent, but you can get it out if you need to. That way, if you're not planning on staying in your home or something like that and you want to move, you haven't done anything permanent that can't be undone. The next step in our process is we need to cut down our EMT. I usually cut these into about 4-foot sections, and then we can use the EMT bender to bend it the way we need. That way we can secure it to the roof. All right, let's cut this up. All right, so now this is cut. So now we can bend this and then we can get it ready for the roof. So you can get your pipe bender out. And this is the overall shape that we're going for, something like this. That way it has the angle to go to the roof, but it will give it about a 90-degree angle or so. And then it is bent kind of in a circle over here, so it will attach to those brackets we put on the roof. So you're going to take your EMT, and then you are going to go this way. So you can put this on the ground. And then just add a little bit of pressure, and it will start to bend. And then you can just continue to work down the pipe. That way you can have a nice smooth radius. And you'll end up with something kind of like this. And then we need to get the angle to get the prop to start to angle upwards. So I bent it a little bit too much right here. It's starting to kink. It's not going to affect it too much, but you want to try to be careful with where you're bending it to try to avoid those. But so now we have this. It is a little bit longer, so we can get the prop out. We can put the prop and line it up on here, and then whatever we don't need, we can then cut this off. I don't make these all the exact same length. That way, when they're on the roof, they will be staggered slightly, and it will just look a little bit better. So we have our spider here. We go ahead and slide it on. So I would say I would like it to have a height about here. So we're going to take about 3 or 4 inches off of this part. So we'll cut this about here, and then we are ready to go back on the roof, and we'll get this secured.
So the first thing you're going to want to do is separate the shingle layers. So you can take the little metal bar and you can start to gently slide it under the shingles. You want to be very careful not to rip them. And once you do that, what you're going to do is add sealant on both sides of the metal bar. Once you have done that, then you can go ahead and you can slide the metal bar under the shingles. You're going to repeat that process for both of the metal bars, so that way there are 2 of these little metal backstrapping bars for each prop. And then once you have done that, you want to go ahead and press back down on the shingles. That way they lay flat again. Once you have both bars in place, you've pressed the shingles down, you can add a little bit more sealant on the top just to make sure that it doesn't go anywhere. And as I mentioned previously, on a really warm day, you can start to wiggle these and pull them back out. You can see I have a few of these straps that have black paint on them. These are from previous years, and I have repositioned them so you can get them out. So you can see the black one there, and then there is one of the new ones. And then now we are going to paint them. The reason I paint them on the roof is to make sure that this sealant isn't sticking to the paint, but rather the bar itself. So you can just slide a piece of cardboard or paper, whatever you want, under the metal bars, get it up against the shingles. That way you don't have to worry about overspray. If you want, you can tape the top of it, but if you're careful, you should be able to just get the bars painted without it. And then once the bars are painted, they are dry, they have cured for at least 24 hours, then the next step, we can go ahead and add some zip ties into the holes of that backstrapping. And then from there, that's what we will use to clamp down the EMT poles. When clamping down the EMT poles, I usually use 2 zip ties per mount. That way if one of the zip ties breaks or anything, it will not go anywhere. So you'll have 2 zip ties in each one of those brackets for a total of 4. And then you basically just repeat that process everywhere where you want to have a mount. If you want to put the bars on an angle to the left or to the right for, say, a flying bat, if you want it on an angle, or if you want your spiders angled, you can do that depending on how you zip tie the mount and how you bend it with the EMT bender. You have a lot of flexibility in designing how you want these props to look once they sit on the roof. Now we can take our props that we have already assembled with the EMT clamps, and then we can go ahead and slide the EMT clamp and carriage bolt over the top of the EMT pole. Go ahead and take your socket or ratchet, whatever you're using, and go ahead and you can tie it down. And then once that is nice and tight, you can go ahead and throw a couple of zip ties on the wires. You're going to run your wires. I typically run them, and then I will try to make it as neat and tidy as possible and zip tie the wire to the EMT clamps and try to do things in as straight of a line as possible. You can see that the lower bat here kind of flipped upside down. These bats are pretty tiny, so I only have 1 EMT clamp in those ones. And what I do is after I get them all mounted, I'll go with the wiring and I will zip tie it with that as well. So those have been up there for all of last year, using them again this year, haven't had any issues. I wouldn't recommend supporting it by the wire, but just to help make sure that it doesn't move, I haven't had any issues adding a couple extra zip ties around the wiring to keep it in place. So as you can see, the spiders are up, they are working and look good. Hopefully this video was helpful. If it was, consider subscribing to our channel, hit that bell icon to get the notifications. Thanks for watching. See you guys next time.